Well, the players had a day off, but I didn't. Back in the facility today, let's just set the record straight. The 49ers coaches didn't have the day off either and had a chance to interview a lot of the assistant coaches today. Picked up a lot of good intel. Going to be happy to share it with you on this beautiful Thursday evening. I know I'm coming to all the viewers a little bit earlier than normal. That's because the schedule was different today. So hopefully that helps the folks out on the East Coast. You're what? 3 hours ahead, 8:45 p.m. So good primetime show for the East Coast. And for Europe, well, you're probably what, 9 hours ahead, 8 or 9, 8 if you're in the UK. So 5 plus 8 is 13. Well, it's 1:45 a.m. So maybe we have some night owls over in London. If you're in Prague, that it's 2:45 a.m. Maybe you're returning from a night out partying on Thursday night, because I know that's how some people roll over there. But either way, welcome to the show wherever you are in the world. There are no days off from 49ers coverage, and I think that this is going to be a show for insiders, for people who really want to know the inner workings of the 49ers, because talking to the assistant coaches is something that doesn't happen all too often, but it does give us good insight into the football team. So I have some videos prepared for you. I've already uploaded some videos. And of course, the article is up on The Athletic. The article is right there next to me. 49ers assistance on Trey Lance's progress, Javon Kinlaw's return, and Fred Warner's fire. So if you want the link, that sucker is in the chat section. That's co-written by Matt Barrows and me for The Athletic. So we combine forces just like we do for our podcast. Here's the Catch is the name of the podcast, by the way. First episode of the season is up. It dropped this morning. But Matt and I combined efforts, talked to a bunch of coaches in the room, took a lot of the interesting nuggets. We couldn't fill all of them, but we took a lot of them and put them all together for this article that is now up on your screen, and the link is there in the chat section. So hello again, those of you just walking in. I know today's going to be a little bit lighter day, so maybe if you have some questions, I'll get to them at the end of the show, but I have several things to get through today. Starting with Bobby Slowick, Trey Lance and Deebo Samuel will need some time to find rapport, according to Bobby Slowick. Now, that's not surprising, but it does verify the theme of my show yesterday, right? I think the headline was Trey Lance and Deebo Samuel need time to find a connection. Bobby Slowick goes and says the same exact thing today. The 49ers have noticed that Trey's on the same page with Brandon Ayuk, who he worked with all off season, and he's not quite on the same page with a lot of other targets. He's not on the same page at the same level as he is Brandon Ayuk. The chemistry there has been fire, but he needs to find that same chemistry with other receivers. And that's natural because him and Ayuk, they were like this over the course of the offseason, right? They were very, very intertwined over the course of the offseason, especially over that dead period, their 5 weeks training together in Southern California, developed that chemistry. Now that chemistry has to happen between Trey Lance and the 49ers other targets, namely Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. The reason I titled the video, pertaining to that yesterday was because there was a deep pass that Trey Lance just completely sailed like 15, 20 yards away from Deebo Samuel yesterday. And it wasn't like inaccuracy because of mechanics. It was inaccuracy because they weren't on the same page. So that's, that will show up in obvious ways, but then it shows up in more subtle ways. I think last year, for example, Brandon Ayuk wasn't on the same rapport page as Jimmy Garoppolo until that game against the Chicago Bears, right? So Ayuk wasn't doing much of anything weeks 1 through 7 or so. All of a sudden, he shows up week 8. Garoppolo's rolling out, getting away from pressure, and he finds Ayuk on an off-schedule play. And boom, right at that moment, I said, boy, that's some rapport. That's some chemistry between Brandon Ayuk and Jimmy Garoppolo that we haven't seen since the very start of training camp. And I initially remembered back to practice 1 of training camp, Garoppolo rolling away from pressure. He was rolling the other way. He was rolling the unnatural way for a right-handed thrower, and he found Brandon Ayuk off schedule, and he was off to the races. Shortly thereafter, Brandon Ayuk pulled the hamstring, right? Had that injury that kept him out of the end of camp, and then he never rediscovered that rapport with the 49ers quarterbacks, whether it be Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance. It was a little bit better with Lance, I think, than Garoppolo, but still it wasn't consistent until it started coming back in that game against Chicago. So rapport is a real thing. It's a hard thing, I think, to establish on a schedule because it's not something that's black and white, right? It's not something you can prescribe a formula for. It's a little bit mysterious. It has to do with chemistry and subtle movements, some stuff that you can't really quantify if you're trying to develop a training program for quarterbacks and receivers. And it just has to happen. And it has happened for Ayuk and for Trey Lance this offseason, but it does need to happen for for Trey Lance and for Deebo Samuel and maybe even for George Kittle as this training camp progresses. Not to worry, though. We're only 7 practices in. Practice number 8 is tomorrow on Friday. So let's hear a little bit from Bobby Slowick, because I know this is the 49ers passing game coordinator, and I know that he's a little bit more under the radar, right? The face of the project, right? Developing Trey Lance has been the QB coach, Brian Griese, but he's a first-time coach. So Bobby Slowick has been just as involved, but just a whole lot more behind the scenes about the whole thing. So here's a look at Bobby, 49ers passing game coordinator.
Installing our offense and the process we go about doing it and the reasons we do it. And it's the same this year as it's been in the past. And it is not easy in the beginning, especially the way the defense is playing right now. It makes it very difficult. But it takes time to train how to play in rhythm, how to feel the pocket, how to stay aggressive, how to know when the right time is to let stuff rip and when the right time is to check the ball down. And all the way from the beginning of OTAs till now, all the quarterbacks, and Trey especially, have made just gigantic strides in all those areas. And you can see him getting better every day and every day and every day. And it's been really cool to watch and to watch him gel with our receivers who are making similar strides and what they need to do as far as beating man coverage and some of the looks we've got and all the different zones that we've got on defense and how they can manipulate shells. It's been a very difficult start to camp that I believe they've done a very good job handling and handling in the right way, in that, okay, I'm not going to make this easy. I'm going to do difficult things so that I can get good at these things.
I mean, is it?
All right, that's Bobby Slowick. So he's talking X's and O's standpoint, pass game coordinator standpoint for Trey Lance, getting on the same page as his receivers. He made the comment about Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle a little bit later. You can find that on the channel. I've uploaded all that video, so you can go ahead and check it out. I want to juxtapose this with Brian Griese, though, because Brian Griese, in the quote that I'm about to show you, talked about Trey Lance's personality and his managerial skills, because playing quarterback is more than just throwing the football around, knowing the playbook. You also have to know your teammates, and you have to know how to get the most out of them, because you are the team leader. And Brian Griese, I think, is such a, is in such a good spot given his experience and, as a quarterback who was in a similar spot as Trey Lance, and obviously given his time not having a lot of coaching experience per se, he's in a good spot to advise Trey Lance and to observe his ability to interact with others on a personal level, maybe not as much on an X's and O's level. Have a listen to this.
Having the proper timing of communication, when to get on somebody, when to encourage, when to slow things down, when to pick things up. I mean, you really are a manager, not only of the game, but the people. And for someone his age, 22 years old, he doesn't have it down, guys. Like, we're continuing to grow with that, but like, he has a foundation and a base that I think is really impressive. And the relationships that he has in the locker room is what allows him to do more like this.
The relationships that Trey Lance has in the locker room as a 22-year-old is what allows him to manage people, what allows him to be in that position of leadership in the quarterback position, which speaks to the 49ers evaluation process on a lot of players. They really look for the person on top of the football talent, right? The person is so important to the 49ers. Every single assistant coach, if you talk to them for long enough, will circle back to that. They'll start talking about the scouting department and their ability to find the person. What is this guy made of? What is his demeanor? What's his attitude going to be? Because the 49ers find that so important to realizing a player's potential down the road. And I think that was a really, really key component of the 49ers decision to trade up so much draft capital, right, for the chance to pick Trey Lance in 2021. So you heard Brian Griese talking about that there. Back to the article. I'm going to add this back to the stream, make it a little bit smaller. This is it. 49ers assistance on all these players. Matt Barrows talked to Anthony Lynn. He has a nice little anecdote about Ty Davis Price and physicality. Obviously, the 49ers have gotten bigger. Sorry, let me decline that call. 49ers have gotten bigger at the running back position this season. So, you have 220-plus pound guys in Jordan Mason out of Georgia Tech and Ty Davis Price, but you also have Elijah Mitchell beefed up for the 49ers this year. Trey Sermon said that he beefed up a bit. And Anthony Lynn, I think that fits with his ethos. I mean, he's been a power run kind of guy. He's loved the inside zone. He's a good schematic mastermind for the run game. He's succeeded at that at the NFL level before. Former 49ers running back. He played back with Steve Young in 1995 and 1996. But Matt Barrows has a lot of good nuggets from Anthony Lynn, and he shares some of that stuff with you in this article as it pertains to Ty Davis Price, the rookie out of LSU. Chris Foerster, 49ers offensive line coach, also spoke, and the main thing from Chris Foerster is that right guard spot is not yet settled. You know, we've seen 7 practices, Spencer Burford as the 49ers first team offensive lineman there at right guard. He's a rookie out of San Antonio. It's mildly surprised some people. And yes, that does mean that Burford is probably in the lead or has an inside track to start at right guard ultimately. But remember, the season opener is still over a month away, 5 weeks away on September 11th at Chicago. That is an eternity. And the 49ers are nowhere near settling that right guard position yet. It is a testament to how Burford has impressed them through OTAs and with his arm length. I mean, this is a guy with 35-inch arms, 94th percentile out of all NFL offensive linemen. So Chris Foerster believes that he's well equipped to pass protect in there at the inside because he could keep those defensive linemen, some of those tackles at bay with the arm length. But by no means is this a settled competition. In fact, the 49ers are looking to still give Jalen Moore some time at right guard and to still give Colton McKivitz some time at right guard. But Chris Foerster explained that it's just been hard to do so because they're trying to ramp up both McGlinchey and Trent Williams slowly. And if you're trying to ramp your tackles up slowly, then you have to throw in some reserve tackles there during practice. And those reserve tackles have been Jalen Moore and Colton McKivitz, the very same guys that they're trying to work out at right guard. Well, it puts a ton on these guys' plate to have to play 2 positions during practices. So they tried it a bit with Colton McKivitz, but I mean, it was just really, really hard on him the other day. So for the time being, as they're still trying to ramp Williams and McGlinchey up, it's just been tough to find actual legitimate reinforcements for that first team right guard spot, which is one of the reasons why Spencer Burford has gotten so much time. Let's take a listen to Chris Foerster talking about the 49ers offensive line and Aaron Banks, because this was interesting to me, his update on Aaron Banks and how he has progressed trying to take over that left guard spot.
When I first came in contact with Jake, you know, how quickly he learned the offense. So I'm not worried from a mental standpoint.
We have Jake Brendel.
His physical
And we'll get
traits.
to Aaron Banks.
He started almost every snap the time he was at UCLA. So he's got a lot of playing experience. His measurables, his intangibles, when you look at him coming out, there's a ton of really good things in his body that he can move and do. And I've coached him and I've watched him do it. Everything translates to being able to do it. Do it. Yeah, do it. You know, so now it's his opportunity. You know, whether this is his opportunity or at some point during this season or whatever, maybe it's not again. But if it is, this guy has all the pieces. I've made this comment when we're looking at it. You know, we get free agent, don't get a free agent. We have these draft picks. We have these guys here like Jake, and you say Spencer, you say Aaron Banks, you say Jalen, you say Colton McKivitz. I said we drafted these guys for a reason. We like these guys. They're the right kind of people. They all work hard. They all have a skill set. Now, what's their level? You know, a couple of these guys are later round draft picks. Are they going to ascend to a starting level? Are they going to be more of a backup guy? Jake's in that group. You know, wasn't a high pick. I don't think he was drafted. I think he was an undrafted guy. But the skill set and the person say this guy should be able to play. His college tape, all these kids' college tape was really, really good. You know, so they got drafted where they got drafted. But you're saying this skill set, and I keep going back to the guy. That's what I think our scouting department does such a good job of, is the right kind of people.
Did you guys hear that? Keeps going back to the guy. Our scouting department always gets the right kind of people. That's what they're really good at. That's what I was mentioning a few minutes ago. I said every coach will circle back to that thought.
Eventually that person shows through the adversity, through the bumps and bruises, through everything else. They end up managing to deal with it and come out the other end being whatever their skill set says they're going to be. Because there still comes down to you still have to be, there's a level of talent and how you can execute on a day in, day out basis. But that's why you have to feel. So you look at what's his name? Creed Humphreys? I'm not Creed Humphreys. What?
Yeah.
Can't say, right?
Center.
Measurables with Jake aren't that different. Because I was like looking up saying, why is it that? Like I started looking at, because everybody sees him as being short. He's like 6'3", 6'3", 6'4". I mean, he's not. And then you start looking at the measurables. You're like, and I'm not putting him in that category today or anything. I'm just saying though that you can see the measurables and say, wow, this guy's got these traits. His shuttle time at the combine, his 3-cone, or whenever he did his pro day, whenever he did his times, I don't even remember anymore. Yeah. And you see those things and go, and then the flip side of that story is, Dan Brunskill doesn't necessarily fit that prototype, but yet finds a way to get guys blocked on Sundays, and has done a good job. So that's why I say that's my experience level. My experience is that they have those traits, and they're the right kind of guy. You have to change. I mean, we talked about Aaron in the offseason, his getting his body in shape and not in shape. He was in shape, just getting himself ready to play, and he's had a great offseason. He's done everything. I said to him, when he came out and he got injured in the preseason, and then this, that, and the other thing happens, and as the year went on, he was more ready to play. I told our strength coach, I said, we'll know about Aaron Banks next camp. I said, yeah, whatever he's going to be this year for us will be fine, but I said, we'll know more about him. This is going to be a year from now. And what Aaron's done is he's done everything right. From the minute he got hurt to today, he's done everything right. Now what he has to do is he has to play. He has to play NFL football against good players, and then we'll see, where he ends up being. But like we just said, great guy, really good skill set. For a guy 330-something pounds, man, he can move and hit and strike. He does a ton of good things, but he's still got to go do it. I had an old coach said to me once. He said, I got a great set of tools in the trunk of my car, but I don't know how to change a tire, right? So those tools can only amount maybe to so much. But I'm not saying he can't change a tire. I'm just saying that Banks can. He's got a ton of ability, but we still have to see if you can put those tools into play. That's my job. That's his job. That's our job to make sure that the kid is done. That he's done everything right to this point. So all these guys have. You can't look up and say, yeah, well.
Aaron Banks has done everything right since he got hurt last year. So we'll see. That's obviously a huge hinge point for the 49ers at the left guard position. Now moving to the defensive line, Chris Kasarik really bullish on Javon Kinlaw. Again, that's going to be in the article right here. I talk a lot about Kasarik and Javon Kinlaw. Kinlaw says that he's feeling good, just trying to get his football legs back. I mean, he's looking physically excellent right now. So Kinlaw has grinded through this offseason. Just didn't have the benefit of health last year. ACL reparation surgery last November. Kinlaw's back. That's going to be such a pivotal spot on that 49ers defensive line. And here's another little nugget for you. Kasarik believes that Drake Jackson can rush from the inside. Remember what Arden Key did last year? Chris Kasarik is so good at this, getting defensive linemen to be versatile, moving around on the front. And when you do that, you keep the offensive line off balance. But most importantly, you get athletic mismatches. And we know how athletic Drake Jackson is with his backflips and this and that. When Arden Key was really athletic last year, he was able to win a lot against guards who are used to fighting those bigger defensive tackles. Well, Drake Jackson, he's starting to learn a little bit about rushing from the inside. And here's what Chris Kasarik had to say about it.
You go back to his freshman year at USC, and you watch him. He was a bigger statured guy as a freshman. I think he was around 275 pounds in there, and most of his pass rush production as a freshman at USC came as an interior rusher. Okay. So you knew he had the skill set. Kind of, and inside you see the bend on the edge. And all that. Inside, you really see like his stop-start, his pass rush wiggle to be able to go from one edge to blocker to another edge of a blocker quickly, similar to like what Arden Key would do in there last year. He has that ability. We'll expand on it as time goes on. We have repped him a little bit in there. He got a couple one-on-one pass rushes in there the other day during one-on-one drills. We are honing in on him, as an edge guy right now and trying to let him really get his feet underneath him there right now. Then that role could expand as time goes on. We want versatility. We don't want guys to just know exactly where everybody's going to be lined up every single snap, whether it's Bosa, whether it's Drake, whether it's Eric Armstead, any of the guys, Samson Hebby-Khan, any of the guys. We want to keep guys guessing. Hey, it might be Bosa this snap, it might be Drake this snap. Hey, it might be an overload front with Samson standing up over a guard. Just different combinations of places guys can rush from. I think for going on 4 years now, I've said in here and I've talked about versatility. I'm a big believer.
Big believer in versatility, Chris Kasarik. I'm going to expand more on that for those of you who are D-line nuts as time goes on, because the 49ers defensive line is something special. I mean, just 2 minutes of listening to Chris Kasarik there, I hope that you realize that you're dealing with a special coach, a guy that really knows what he's talking about. He's gotten the results. That much is undeniable here from the past few seasons. Have a little bonus video for you today. How about this? Oh, we got to take off this. Why don't we put... This is Fambrini's in Palo Alto. This was my lunch today. Fambrini's Cafe, the chimichurri surf and turf sandwich. I should make a banner. Fambrini's Cafe. They don't pay me to do this. I just love these guys. I go there so often. Fambrini's Cafe, Palo Alto. If you want one more video, there you go. Chimichurri surf and turf. It might be the best sandwich in the world. So I know we haven't been doing as many lunch with Lombardis lately, but the reason is I just been at the facility the whole time. And today I got to swing by for lunch and I got the video, share it there for you guys up on the screen. Thursday update, 49ers didn't practice today. They did work out 3 offensive linemen today. They have an extra roster spot. They have 89 and 90 filled because they have moved Jordan Matthews to injured reserve. Jordan Matthews, tight end, former wide receiver, tore his ACL. So the 49ers today worked out Jordan Mills. He's the most experienced of the 3. He's an offensive tackle. They worked out Tyree St. Louis. St. Louis played in the USFL. He played tackle there, but he's gotten some guard opportunities in the NFL. And they worked Caleb Benenoch. Benenoch, UCLA product, has played both guard and tackle in the NFL. So the 49ers have that open spot. You probably can put 2 and 2 together. I talked a little bit earlier about Chris Foerster saying that right guard spot is still very much a battle, but they need some, more tackle bodies so that Colton McKivitz and Jalen Moore can move inside. So if they do sign one of these 3 linemen with this final roster spot, it might be so they can get more work in on that right guard spot. So it's not just Burford right now. We're only 7 practices in the camp, so still a lot can develop for the 49ers moving forward. All right, no days off from 49ers coverage. I hope you recognize that's true. Make sure that you do check out the article that I have put up on the screen. Matt Barrows and I worked hard on it. I worked hard on this video. And I'd probably be on one more time tonight. If not, well, then I won't be. But I know you guys are trying to watch some football right now. So why don't we all go off, have a good dinner on this Thursday evening, and I'll talk to you all soon. All right, thanks, guys. Everybody take care.